When you hear the sound of the bell, you know you in the championship rounds with King Amin of Essex. I got my guy, Mr. Bodywork Boxing. Tell the people where they can find you.
I'm bodywork boxing 24/7 at gmail.com and Mr. _bodywork boxing. That's me.
I got another special guest behind me, y'all, the one and only Prince Amari. This is my guy right here. He wanted to chime in on the conversation and maybe contribute. So we're gonna see how this works out. Yo,
Yeah.
we had a nice kind of weekend. We got a little bit of a lull, so we got some things we need to get into. We got the time to take a little bit of a deeper dive, man. And we got some something that's really disappointing when we talk about topics, fights we want to see, a fighter we want to see. Sometimes things go to the skids, man. It get a little bit shitty, and I'm talking about Boo Boo Andrade.
Yeah.
Lay it on me. Lay it on me.
I had been tracking Andrade, and I'm glad I kind of tapered down a little bit before, I came on and I saw a post from him and he said be calm. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, man, in this day and age, I'm gonna give a brother the benefit of the doubt. I have been calling it all along. I mean, this man was almost on the verge of making my age well games. I have all the I have all the track records just like Canelo, and a couple others, with this age well stuff. But it's just the track record and the back and forth and the loss of leverage. On the last episode, we talked about Shakur and the loss of leverage by actually losing the belts to the scale. I mean,
Yes.
because when you're a tough opponent, remember we said when you're a tough opponent and you don't have anything to offer, the numbers not there, and you have no belt, people can easily say, well, what do you have to offer? And then they can say, oh, well, you don't sell like that. You eliminate things when that happens. So in this case, when he forfeited the belts, that's after the second time. So that's making Janabek look like a monster.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's building up his reputation when cross promotional boundaries could have been crossed and that fight could have been made because it had went all the way to purse bid. That happened twice. So, but in the meantime, you had a fight with up here with Zack Parker and pull out for a shoulder.
Mm.
Come back, drop the belt, then go back, and now is pulling out because the money's not there. And so it's like now, where do you go? What do you do? I see him training, so I have solace in seeing him training. He's saying keep calm, and I'm like, man, this man got children. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I don't take him as being a brother who's gonna be out here, but I want to see how you see it, man, because I like the different perspectives, I like to hear it, man. I know you're gonna keep it, funky, you know what I'm saying?
Well, what you did was you gave me some help in terms of you laid out a very practical and objective way in reason as to why it's not looking good for him. And my one question, I think it's more rhetorical. I don't think we can answer it is, sometimes they would say he the boogeyman. We heard that nickname thrown about to him. He was the boogeyman or he's the most avoided fighter, but I don't really know what it is that makes people really not interested with fighting him. He seems like he could be a bit of a good talker as far as entertaining. I don't know if he's, people like to use the excuse of he's not a draw in his hometown. I mean, but he could do pretty good on the East Coast. He's an exciting fighter. He can be. I'm not really sure what it is. It's always been what I call a curious case. I don't really know why, people so dismissive. And then somebody like Canelo, who the last person we want to kind of do that to you because people like to follow the leader.
Right.
Now it's like, oh, well, he don't fight nobody. So you
Right.
disparage the man and his
Right.
father and say, but then you go and so I don't really know, man.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking, man, it's a little bit of both. It's a little bit of, you can say self-sabotage. He has to take accountability because, when Jamel was on the table, he walked away a week out, and nobody really wants to wait. I mean, you're talking about, and Jamel has had that happen to him 3 times. He got left at the altar 3 times, but when you have a track record of that, And then, also if you stick inside the ring, he is he is the slick black fighter, you know what I'm saying? And he does have power. They know he, has Olympic experience and all that. So, he inside the ring, he presents many challenges. The thing is, when you're that special and everybody's avoiding you, you have to be active.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm at a point now where I really don't want to really engage with anybody who don't really want to take into consideration everything as it relates to these boxers. And one of them is like, when you're not really fighting, you don't really come out and tell the people, your fans, what's going on. It's like it's hard to kind of stop people from steamrolling you because you can't draw from anything. There's nothing to substantiate. So now we're just pretty much left on pause and this anticipation. It's like, well, when we gonna see you? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't get to spend no time. You know what I'm saying? It's like we don't hear. So the verdict is out. I want to give him the benefit of the doubt, but I've been lining it up, and I've been accused of saying that the man was a Daffy Duck. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, but respectfully, I mean, because history books is going to say
No.
if it ends tomorrow, what is the track record going to say? That's all we have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's in a position. It's another part too. If we was looking at the chessboard, I used to think of him, as a rook. You know what I'm saying? I used to think he had the ability, once he was in position, he can either get ahead or he can go laterally.
Right.
I don't even think he playing chess no more. You know what I'm saying? He on the checkerboard trying to triple jump and pull out of fights and hedge his bets. And I just, like you said, that kind of, there used to be the thing that he was in a bad promotional contract. Now it's kind of like, I don't know what it is, man, but I'm hoping that he gets something soon, because I'm like, you got to think about that element. He got kids. You know what I'm saying? Right. And no matter what city he from the inner part of that city.
Right.
So, I want him to see him get that opportunity, the chance to put some food on his table, but something's got to give. And boxing ain't the kind of giving game to where anybody's interested in putting nothing on your table unless they eating with you.
That's right. We don't want to be knee-jerk reactionists. You know what I'm saying? It's plenty of stuff out there. I know I put plenty of stuff out there to show my stance on it, but I'm gonna give him a mulligan on this. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I hope I'm sending positive vibes to him. I hope he get it in order and we see him. I just seen him training today. So I mean, I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt for now.
So we're going to shift gears, and this one is going to take us down the road, man. We're going to start with the Loma Jamaine Ortiz fight. And I remember Jamaine Ortiz after the Joseph Adorno fight. That's where he made his bones. I love them Latinos. You know what I'm saying? Like, his name ain't like Jamaine, like, you know what I'm saying? His mother probably black. You know what I mean? Like, she spelled that shit Jan.
Right.
But his father named Ortiz. So I like that. All right. And he was put there to be an opponent against Adorno, but Top Rank, what they'll do is, we talked about it, they put you in there against somebody that's just, they done told him that he's on a short leash too. So he in the ring like, nah, man, I ain't losing to this cat. I don't care what kind of deal they got with him. If I beat him, I'll take his spot. And Jamaine Ortiz, even though it was a draw, I think he dominated in the fight, and his trajectory moved him. He continued on in Top Rank. He fought Jamel Herring.
Right.
Like, how you get Jamel Herring? They think highly of you because, again, another push and pull situation. We're going to put Jamel, you still got it in you? Because if you don't, we got somebody for he hungry as hell, right?
Yeah.
So I'm asking, is Loma on the plate for Jamaine Ortiz, or is this Loma getting warmed up for some of these guys we're going to talk about in a little later?
I want to say that it's a warm-up. It's been a pattern where, because again, I got to reiterate that when you're considered top pound for pound, let everybody else tell it. When you're on that list, being on that list, that's 10 people that you say, hey, You give us, it's us 10, you know what I'm saying? Me and 9 of them, you know what I'm saying? We gonna get her done. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I have high expectations. And I knew that he was gonna come back and do the war thing. And then I'm looking at like, okay, what Teddy be saying about Top Ring and how they build and things like that. And so, you know, they kind of using leverage now. He's good enough to where if Loma is slipping, if there's any ring rust, if he keep his hands in his pocket, Jamaine can slap him to sleep.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But I believe that, you know, Bob and what he really wants is for Loma to have those belts. Because the common denominator, I think, is Loma is the next fight. I think that's what everybody, because this is the launch pad for Loma. You know, the
Yeah.
question mark is it going to be Loma and Shakur or Loma and Haney, but I think knowing Bob, you pay attention to Bob and the track record and how he's coming back from the war. You got that story. You got all the amateur. You got this is about to be. They're trying to set up a climax. We
Yeah.
know Loma's there, and I don't think that Bob would put anybody in there respectfully that will really mess up the bag. They're just like letting Haney go elsewhere and do all these other shenanigans and you know what I'm saying
Sure.
and alleviate them belts. You know what I'm saying? So
Loma
that's what I think.
Loma's his Eminem. It don't matter if Buster was doing it first. It don't matter if Punk could chew a hole in his ass. They want Eminem to be the guy.
Right.
Don't matter if Tretch influenced this guy. They want
Right.
Eminem to be the guy. So you are absolutely right. They want Loma to be the guy. And what they think the common denominator is going to be that he's going to be. But see, this is why, listen, Bob Arum is on some real two-faced white Don King shit because look how slick this is. Look what I see.
Mhm.
Suppose, right, Loma don't cut the mustard, then what he has is the Olympian black fighter with that pedigree, right?
Right.
Or if that don't work, the prodigious father and son duo, because we're gonna get into that. So kind of so many ways he could cut it. His marketing, he gonna look at it, say either I got the great white, I got the blue chip prospect that I brought up through here, and it's my guy, my franchise, or I got this prodigy that I picked up along the way. This motherfucker think he Jimmy
Wow.
Iovine.
Yeah, he making some hits, man. But either way, hey, when you sometimes, man, Bob, you got sometimes he is the Bob father, man, because he has a plan. And when them belts are involved, man, them belts are like brackets, man. And we'll get into that other thing because I keep questioning, do belts matter? You know what I'm saying? But I wanna make a transition, man. Something that's been on me, man, as
Mhm.
far as what you brought up as far as this father and son thing, man.
Tell them what you call it. Let's introduce this to the lexicon because you have a very unique phraseology for this. Please.
I call it avatar. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm wondering, like, because let me give an illustration, right? When we look back at the Sean Porter we got facing Bud, right? You know, it was a time when Sean Porter said that was the first time in camp that he ever said no to his father.
Mm,
They had already said that they were going to throw in the towel with certain, who rehearses that kind of stuff, So we got to compromise Sean Porter going in there, and I think what on that canvas that he could go, he could get up and go.
yeah.
He's never wanted to quit, and then you had Kenny get up there because it was something Sean did that embarrassed him, so he threw in the towel. You know, Then we have the Teofimo Lopez. A lot of Teofimo's criticism
Is
is
cause of
not
his
really
father.
him. And the
Mhm.
way I look at it is like that's a young man. He's gonna make mistakes. He's gonna be, he got venom in him. He's a young snake. He might shoot too much venom sometimes, might not enough. He's still getting calibrated, but he done wonderful things, and his father did wonderful things. But I think a lot of times these fathers they get out there and they start saying things, and they got active sons that gotta cash that check that they fathers put out. And what I'm seeing here now is that it's a track record with the undisputed, the great number 8 is what I call him. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? Devin Haney and Bill. And I'm like, man, is Bill oftentimes is he really avataring Devin? Because I hear Devin sometimes, and I'm like, man, that's a good young man. And and when you look at what he's doing, he's like the consummate professional. I think he's probably, if I had to say his best quality, he might be the smartest one.
Yeah, I could agree.
He might be the smartest one. And that might be his greatest advantage because he knows how to do the social media and keep that popping. He knows how to have, I guess maybe it's his father saying things for him that he don't, So I'm kind of thinking that these sons, and the big one is this Conor Ben and Eubanks. When I looked at it, I said, man, that's a bag for them to have in the future. That was a bag for them to have a little bit later because you got Boots out here. You got Virgil out here. That's in your way because you got Speedy Rashidi. You got Eddie with the big purse. Like if he supports you and he's grooming you, he got a big bag. You and then you got people like we just talked about Andrade. Why we not seeing Andrade and Eubanks all under the Eddie umbrella? That's why sometimes I be like, man, Eddie moving funny. Why are we having Conor Ben and Eubanks in here? And I got to looking at the counting the days. And I got to seeing the fathers and hearing the dialogue. And I said, man, these men are getting avatar. It makes absolutely no sense to me at this point in time in both of their careers because, let's be honest, Eubanks isn't the most active, right? He should be fighting the Charlo. He should be in line for the Charlos, the Benavidez's, the Andrades. There's so many other options other than Conor Ben. But then he's taking them lightly, saying he need to be 60%. And then you got Conor Ben trying to make his bones. And he like, look, man, this dude taking me like, if I get in here and I knock his ass out, I might put on a statement, but really it's the father's beef. The first one was a stoppage. The second one was a draw. Do it for the family name. You've been avatar, and these guys are going to look back at their careers, and they're going to say, you know what, maybe I should have grabbed the bull by the horns a little bit more. I might have done some good business, and yeah, he had my best interest in mind, but when it comes to the hats that they wear, because they have the father hat, then they have the trainer hat, you know what I'm saying? And sometimes they might be in manager, and they got all those hats. So you can't really criticize them because at the end of the day, they'll say, hey, why are you talking about his father like that? But he has many hats.
Absolutely.
I think that they live vicariously through their sons. What do you think? What do you think about that?
Anybody that has, influence and, over these young fighters, they should be very mindful not to try to live vicariously through them. I think that's something that's very real because, you look Angel Garcia, you know what I'm saying? Anytime you look at it, you look how bad it could turn out Chavez Jr. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's very rare that there's long-term consistency in that type of relationship because, like you said, sometimes your head get too big for that hat. You have to remain in the pocket of a trainer and not feel like it's your fault. Well, how do I separate that? Well, that's why you got to choose one. I think in order to allow your son to be successful. And I think Devin, you said he is the smartest because Devin don't really respond after his father, and he don't often even speak in the same room. He just let his father talk. And if you direct him one-on-one, he said, well, what I'll say is, and they'll say, what your father said. Well, what I'll say is, very, very intelligent. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But it's crazy because you go back to the Ben and Eubank, they're going to lose years off of their career. Either time trying to rebuild the name because they came in off a name and still had to step outside of that and then to build a name. And now you're going to put it back into so you got out of the matrix to get back in. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so
it's wild because, again, you do have instances where, Eddie, if you look at Eddie and what he did, you had the Triple G and the Kell Brook instance.
Yeah.
So it could go bad. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, man, if it do, is he going to console? What's going to be the message to the people if that happens? I'm not saying it is, but it happened before.
Absolutely.
So I'm just thinking, man, like, how do we look at it? And, how do we look at it? So I just thought it was interesting, man. I just thought, something to think about when we look at these father-son relationships and when we start to pass judgment on the back and forth, that we hear about.
Sure. And just before we get off it, it's a very good point you made that these are young men and they should be allowed to make the mistakes. They should be
Right.
allowed to spit a little fire every now and again, burn a few folks. They should be allowed that. The fighters,
The
but the
fighters.
fathers, maybe you guys might want to tighten up, you know what I'm saying, and be mindful of the energy
Absolutely.
and the commitments that you putting out there verbally and with that energy. You putting out
Right.
commitments out there that you won't want to have your sons to have to take account for. So
Yeah. Well worded. Well worded.
well, let's take account for something that you brought this idea to the table, and it's important that we do. It's a love of mine, but you figured out a way for us to highlight this, and we're gonna call this Women's Boxing Wednesdays. So we're gonna talk about two fighters. About we both thought about fighters that we'd like to talk about and kind of showcase as we start this segment. So, you want to kick it off, or you want me to jump out there?
Yeah, you can go. You can go first. You got it.
Yeah, let me, Mary McGee deserves a lot of attention. She deserves a lot of respect. Shout out to Mary McGee on Instagram. I feel like Mary McGee is the kind of fighter, she represents what boxing is. That's, that Rocky story.
Right.
Single mother, single parent, you know what I'm saying? Um, Nice, attractive young lady. She's not marketing her looks, she's marketing her story. She got a sense of humor. She's a diverse and multi-dimensional individual. And she happened to fight her way. And see, because women boxing is not that deep stateside like it is UK. So
Right.
you could be somebody that makes that transition from a hard life and hone some skills. You're not coming out of this
Right.
traditional GB boxing system like the Caroline Dubois and the Katie Taylors and all these young ladies are. So it's a lot more remarkable for me when you just from the grain and you just a young black woman and you find boxing, you fight your way to a championship position. So she had that bout against Chantel Cameron, who's still the champ doing her thing. And Mary McGee lost on points. We talked about it before. It was a thing that might have just been conditioning. But unfortunately, she hasn't even been offered another fight since then. And I just wanted to just do that little segment on her and show her that love because, sometimes you don't know when it's your last shot. But I know she's working on getting back. So shout out to Gary, Indiana, Mary McGee. We rocks with you.
Yeah. Shout out. Yeah, we do. Yeah, I watched that, and yeah, I think that I learned a lot in the build up because I was watching the pre-story on her, and I admire that, man. And I think that sometimes when you go over the pond and stuff like that, it take more of a toll, and I think some of the restrictions and something like that, So it was a combination, a little bit of that, but she's no quitter, and she did give a valiant effort in that fight. So salute to her. I hope she, get back on the wagon because women's boxing is it's a little different.
Mm.
It's like it's limited opportunities. They just now opening up the bag, so you got to make the best of every opportunity. And my take on it, the reason why I was thinking about women's boxing is because I think it was Michaela Myers' coach. It came out and said right before the initial date had got pushed back. He said, "Look, you all better start taking note of women boxers. These women's boxers are actually really mean." He was like, they're actually honing in their skills. You can actually see them put it on display, and they know that there's a limited opportunity. They know that there's not much money. They know that every time they get in there, it might be their last time.
Yeah.
And they're mixing it up. And he was talking about how they're always getting there. You always seeing the best fight the best, and I'm bringing up Alycia Baumgardner, who they call AB, because one of them commentators on the Canelo fight actually said that they're going to steal the show. And her Michaela Myers coach said that even all the men that he's ever trained has never worked as hard. So these women actually have to work because for one, there's obvious some things, politics involved with the sport, and you having to prove your way and demonstrate that you can put butts in seats. That's what AB do. She's like the new problem. When you look at her, the weigh-in puts eyeballs on screens.
Yeah.
She calls herself an ultimate athlete. They have her listed as being from Ohio, but she's training out of Detroit, living in Detroit with Tony Harrison. I heard how Tony Harrison talked about her and her obsession for boxing. She has a suddenness. She's very athletic. Those angles, you can see that Tony is imprinting his skills, because when you look at Tony, you think pure boxer.
Yeah.
You look at some of them 47s coming up there thinking that, because you don't see too many Barker. You heard Tony say who he wanted, but you didn't see too many of them guys say, I want that smoke. He's in her corner.
Sure.
Training in AB. And she had knockout of the year last year. I think that when they were going back and forth, they did a good job at being professional and going at it, but letting that venom be shown. And I think that as far as the total aspect of it all, having skills inside the ring, being easy on the eyes, being able to talk that talk, having the physique and looking athletic, because now it's like people that just box. It's like, okay, you in that weight class, as long as you fall in that weight. But she looks the part.
Like
she
an
gets
athlete.
in the ring, then she like an athlete, and she froze that frozen, you know what I'm saying? When she froze, old girl, that's what they want to see. So people are lining up to see that. So that was my segment on it. And I think we need to push the envelope to get it out there.
No, for sure, man. And to add on to Baumgardner, man, listen, you mentioned something about the fight or between this particular one stealing the show. 1,000%. It's going to be nastier. They getting t-shirts made. They real disrespectful, tight hand grips, fighting to prove. Not only have both Mayer and Baumgardner fight their entire lives to show that they not just pretty faces.
Right.
They're going to fight each other like how two pretty girls saying we ain't two pretty girls. Like, I don't like that girl. I don't like. So this is it, but not in a love and hip hop reality television cat fight.
No.
Two professional athletes, and it's got me pumped already, man. So I mean, yeah, you're absolutely right. We have to really push this one to the forefront. We're gonna, and you know what's funny? I think if we keep adding to it, the fighters will appreciate that, because they don't get the same marketing. It took this big event. But look how this event got taken down by, you know what I'm saying? Coincidentally, another woman, you know what I'm saying? But,
right.
It could use all the promotion because we have to try to recapture the excitement and the energy from that buildup because everything was perfect. Everything for that first buildup was perfect to me.
Right, it was, yeah.
You ain't see Clarissa. She was articulating herself. Had people laughing. The crowd was warming up to her. Savannah Marshall wasn't sitting there looking like security. Like she was smiling a little bit. Peter Fury was engaging. Demetrius Salita. Everybody was in. And now you kind of got to pick that up. So we get that in a couple weeks, man. And we're gonna keep hitting home with these Women's Boxing Wednesdays. Up to and through this, man, for sure.
Yeah. I look forward to it, man. It's a treat, man. Thanks for actually be willing to talk about it, man. I think it's needed, man. People are missing out, so yeah, we're gonna push it forward.
Definitely, man. Speaking of pushing forward, man, we don't got no fights coming up this week, but the fights that are coming up in the upcoming weeks, we talked about the Eubank Jr. and the Ben. Before we get up out of here, you did a segment on him, and I want people to go and find this on your YouTube page, but let's just talk real quick about Sebastian Fundora.
Oh, yeah.
What you think about that guy?
Man, I actually like Fundora, and I think that's something we got to get away from because right now it's so ironic. The first thing that's mentioned a lot of time when you mention Fundora is the weight bully thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, I'm like, you either hit a weight bully or then like after the Lubin fight, the first thing they said was something about some gloves and some other. I said, man, we have to stop doing that. This man he built like Dalcin. That's what I be thinking.
I heard he was 6'6".
Yeah, he looks like it, but he is a polished boxer. I call him the fulcrum because he uses his leverage. I'm like, man, at one point in time, I think he hit Lubin in the face like 26 times.
Yeah.
I mean, he like to go inside when he could use the reach and his height, and he has good footwork, but he has a nasty streak. I think he's a throwback. And you know how some people, it's like the spirit don't match the body, but
Sure.
he looks, you see him one day and he got the glasses on, but he's
Yeah.
like he puts on, when he get inside the ring, he's an animal, man. And I think that people that are just looking at the whole, thinking it's a freak of nature, it's just some people are just built like that. If he can make the weight, and you can see he's not hot, like he can barely even probably keep weight on. So I
Yeah.
think he's in a perfect weight class. I think he's something to watch, and if you appreciate boxing, because just like his little sister, they have skills. That stuff took time and development. You think the first thing when he came out, you think is the first thing that was like, oh yeah, he's gonna be a boxer. They wasn't thinking. They was probably thinking basketball, volleyball, like something where you need height. But he's a boxer, and I think he's real. Whether he's ready for Jermell or not, I don't know. But I think Ocampo, I don't know what he's gonna show us.
Sure.
But I like Fundora, man. What you think about Fundora?
Do you think listen, I want him to get Charlo, but this is the only time I'll take the finesse stance, what I call that A-side slut talk. I feel like Jamel and Undisputed at 154, he's done so much. Let him do what he want to do for a little bit. Canelo get to do it. These other guys get to do it. I don't think he's ever been able to treat the world. He's been treated a little bit. So for him to come back from the loss and then any questions, let him go do Tim Tszyu in for that big bag over in Australia.
Oh yeah.
Then if Fundora, and I hate to do this to Fundora, but I just gotta play the games, man. He gotta go through Castano. And if he do Castano in, Mel can't duck him.
Man, I don't know why I never even thought about Fundora and Castano, but that makes sense. And shout out to Jermell Charlo, man. I seen something on him today. He's enjoying his children. He's he's still in fight shape, man. The man is like he can get in the ring right now. But shout out to him. Right now, he is my face of boxing just because of all things considered. No resume questions, how he performs and all that. And I would love to see Fundora and Jermell. I'm with you though. Let Jermell, he's I'm riding with what he say right now. He ain't ducking no smoke. Ain't never heard of him ducking no smoke.
Nope. Ain't never seen him duck no smoke.
Never seen him duck no smoke. But yeah, that would be really interesting. That would be really interesting seeing Fundora and Castano.
And if he handled Castano in any kind of way, I don't want to hear nothing about Castano being shot. I don't want to hear none of that shit. The boy is ready. The boy is ready because that fight with Lubin certified him to me.
Yeah.
Certified them, and as far as, the little trinket system, that they call them belts, we're going to do a whole show about that shit. But that whole trinket system has him in position to where he shouldn't have to do too much waiting. But I think it is fair for him to get Castano, even if they say give him an interim belt to secure the fight with Mel later on. They could do an interim with Castano. You know what I'm saying? I know it sucks because it's like, what if Castano wins and he's back in the mix? But whatever. He'd probably, take step aside. I don't want to get too political, but Castano Fundora, we'd like to see that. And yeah, man, I want to see him back in action against Ocampo, and I hope he handled his business that night.
Yeah. I think he will. I think he will, man. And I think that I think as long as he handle business, and if he were to handle Castano, that will prevent the whole Lubin thing, because a lot of people take credit away because he was so young. And, we always talk about these fighters being developed and how they move too fast and all this. So he do need, that'll help him, and it'll make it be a better fight because he'll learn things like he learned with Lubin. Mm-hmm. He's cerebral because you notice he said, hey, let me take a knee to recoup.
Yeah.
A hard-headed person would have just kept going, but he's cerebral. And yeah, I look forward to that too.
Well, listen, man, let the people know again one more time where they can find you before we close out.
It's Bodywork Boxing 24/7 at gmail.com. And on Instagram, it's Mr._Bodywork Boxing. Here at Bodywork Boxing, where we don't take things for face value. We do that body work.
My guy, we up out of here.